when did you meet Ivan, and tell me how you guys knew each other and what you guys did when you were kind of growing up together.
I want to say, I was thinking about this, maybe 84, maybe even before that. It was Thunderbird Roller Rink. We were both roller skaters, and he's so handsome, but not a player type. He's just a goofball kind of. Always happy go lucky. You never got the fact that he was a troubled kid or anything like that. Just always a happy go lucky kid. He had a cousin named Thad Zach, and I don't know if they're blood cousins or not, but they were just the good looking boys of the roller rink. But Ivan was the more sociable one that was always outgoing and just talked to everybody, friends with everybody, but never one of those little players, not like the ones, typical Plano boy. And I guess it was in Carpenter. So he went to either Schimmelfinning or Haggard, I believe. I think it was Schimmelfinning. But Plano back then was really small, compared to it is now, okay? But back then, to us, it was really large. So there was only like Haggard, Schimmelfinning, Wilson, Carpenter, Armstrong, and I forgot the other one, middle schools. And
well, for people that don't know Plano in that area, how would you describe that for anybody who's never been through there?
It was still, it was a suburb. I mean, we've lived there for 50 years, since 1973. So from 1973, it was still countrified. We were the first housing additions on the west side, but the east side had already been populated. There was all the farms out there, where South Fork is and all that. So that had already been established. Murphy was actually the big town, and then they had 75 right there. I think it was maybe even 2 lanes or 4 lanes going north and south. And then, of course, they built it up. The Texas pool was there, and it just grew. All the, we teased my friend Sally Maurice. We would tease her. All the Yankees moved there. All the Northerners moved there because it was cheap land, and it just grew really fast. And so, then became all the elementary schools, Sagling and Christie and Harrington and all those, and then the middle schools. And there was only 2 high schools. There was only Plano East and Plano West, which is now Plano Senior High. But now, even though I went to Plano East, it was so fast growing that Plano West was, overpopulated. They had to cut us off, to go to Plano East. So at this time, we still, and Thunderbird Roller Rink was still there. It was a good town. It was, at this point, nobody was, it wasn't a rich little town. It was everybody just working class. It was a good town. Everybody kind of knew everybody, whether you were at Sagling, we'd meet at the track meet. Track meets were probably the best times of our lives, because then you got to know other people. You got to meet other people from different middle schools, and then, I was in Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and so you got to meet other people there. We even had a little a club back in the days. It was only for minors. There was no alcohol involved. Kind of like a spin-off of, instead of a roller rink, why don't we do a club for, not really a club, but a dance place for kids, because there was a lot of break dancing back in those days, Beastie Boys was big and all that, and Run DMC and Michael Jackson and Prince and all that. So there was a place called Fast Times, and so we would all meet there, and that would be the big thing on the weekends, once we got out of the roller rink stage, But there was a group of us that were always in the roller rink stage. We'd never give that up. I think Ivan was a great roller skater, and a few, Jennifer Henry and Angela Walker and a few other people were really good at that, and Bianca and Priscilla and all them. So it was just a good old town. Wasn't until we got until, I guess, maybe high school, it just kind of wasn't that great, I guess. Maybe after college, I guess.
What changed?
a lot of money coming through, then it became like, okay, so at this point, the houses, when did the houses on Ohio start? So then at this point, Deerfield was the big and upcoming houses. Those were the mansions, you know. Anything past Ohio to Preston was not even built, you know. I remember us going partying, you know, us drinking back in the days, underage, of course. And we would meet off Ohio, not with Ivan, but this was another group of friends. Actually, it was a friend of Ivan's, Chris Pence, and I was dating, and we would go out there and drink, and it was under construction, you know, and that's when the real money started coming in, you know, the rich people and the booming big houses and stuff like that. So, and at this point is when the suicides, I don't know if you know this, but we were once the suicide capital of the world. A lot of suicides were happening at this time. So a lot of people.
With what age group, though?
Actually, it started probably in Carpenter. I remember Sean Ossie was the first one. Well, not the first one. I don't say that. I wouldn't say that. Nicole Crow. So it just started happening. I think every year someone would kill themselves. So this was started probably in 85. Maybe even before that. I had a friend of mine, her grandmother had killed herself before that. And a friend of mine, her dad had killed himself before that. So, so yeah, it just every year it would happen to somebody. It's a lot of judgment, you know. And then after high school, it became, you know, then the drugs would start kicking in, you know. Then it was the heroin epidemic and all that. But our group was kind of past that, you know. Luckily, even though we would still. I don't even know. Well, we would go to Monopolies down in Dallas in Clark High School, but we wouldn't really drink there. Monopolies was still at a club. Dallas still had clubs where you could be a minor, but you can't drink, but you had to have fake ID, unless you had a fake ID, you know, kind of thing. Dallas still had those kind of clubs.
What else was Ivan like growing up? I mean, was he just, you know, your normal average kid, or was he?
Oh,
I guess what
yeah.
made him a little different, if anything?
He was just always there, you know. And so we had a neighborhood group of kids, me and Jimmy Hawley and Chad Woolhoyt, Sally Maurice, and he kind of clicked with us, you know. So we would always, you know, Plano was kind of boring, you know. We would go to 7-Eleven, play our video games. That was back in the days when 7-Eleven had video games, you know, the stand-up ones, you know. And we would buy our candy where they had, like, you know, penny candy for gum or something like that. You can pay pennies for your candy. And we would do that. The Jimmy Hawley and all them had four-wheelers. So they would ride their four-wheelers around. And in our neighborhood, we had Christie Park, the bike trails right there. So back then, you could ride those. You know, there wasn't many people utilizing these bike trails, not like it is now. You can't even ride skateboards, I think, now. But and then some of the kids, like Ivan and them, I don't know if Ivan, I remember, I think he would just ride his bike over. But, and Schimmelfenning Library is right there, too. So Schimmelfenning and Carpenter, we kind of share that neighborhood. And yeah, so we would just, so if we were bored, we would explore the creek. You know, me and Sally were kind of like the tomboys and hang out with the boys, and it was fun. No mischievous. I think the most mischievous things we would do is catch the water moccasins out of the creek, and, you know, the guys would catch them and, you know, and catch the water moccasins and watch them splatter on the street. You know, I think that was the most mischievous thing ever. But only because we wanted to swim in the creek, you know. So, because you could swim in the creek back then, it was clean. And then we'd slide down the spillway, you know, and stuff like that. And then the guys had a bike ramp at one point, and they would, you know, jump their bikes in the creek and stuff like that. And then Ivan would always be welcome to, and I'm not sure if he transferred to Carpenter. I don't remember him having classes with him, but I remember I have pictures, and I need to find them for you. I have pictures of him at our socials at Carpenter, starting in like 6th grade, and he's just a goofball. He's just a good old boy, you know. You know, all the girls were always after him, but he was just a gentleman, you know. Never really, I don't remember his girlfriends back in those days. But yeah, so he was always at our socials, always hung out with our kind of boys, and and Jimmy Holly and them were all good boys, Chad Anderson, all of them. And then me and Ivan befriended a kid. Well, actually, I think Chris Pence was on his side of the streets, but I mean, came by at times where I wasn't even at home. But my parents knew Ivan. He was welcome anytime. And a lot of people wouldn't come by my house because my dad was a cop. They were afraid of my dad. So they would ring the doorbell and then hang out at the edge of the street, like, is Nikki here? And so they were really afraid of my dad. And but Ivan knew he was welcome at any time. My dad had his favorites of my guy friends. There's not very many few guy friends that could come over, and Ivan was always welcome. So
yeah, and Ivan told me, he said, you might not know this or not, but you were actually his first kiss.
Yeah. Yes. 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 We never dated though. I don't know why. I guess just things on the way. I always thought he was good looking. Always, He was like the fresh meat of the bunch, and I don't know why. I always picked the losers. Not Ivan. Ivan was the good old boy. But I always picked the losers. But yeah, I did. But yeah, he's so sweet.
Did you guys hang out after, like, middle school?
So after middle school is when I started dating Chris Pence. And then so I kind of distanced myself. So then after that, I distanced myself, and then I became a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader at Clark and then a cheerleader at Plano East. So they split us up. All of this group had to go to Plano West, and then if you lived on this side of Custer, because Custer was the cutoff, Custer and Parker right there. So we had to split up. So you kind of did. So then you lost all your best friends too, and that was hard for all of us. But then we just focused on going to college. And I think Ivan joined the Navy, right, or Air Force or something.
Yeah, a little later they joined the Navy.
So I moved to San Diego. When I came back, it was on 97, and that's whenever we started hanging out again. And we saw each other. We were hanging out at Deep Ellum, and Deep Ellum was the big thing back then. I had gotten a job at Copper Tank, and we ran into each other there, and it's like best friends again. Like, hey, what are you doing? I don't know who he was dating at that time, if it was Tawny or the other girl. I'm not sure. But I was dating a loser, and I knew his girlfriend at the time was, very jealous, very vindictive. I had heard, kind of watch out for her kind of thing. Because I still had the hots for Ivan.
Ivan said she was referring to his second wife, Jennifer. Ivan met Jennifer when he worked briefly at Baby Dolls, and Jennifer was a dancer.
But then in 99, it was the same old situation, because then we started seeing each other still at this time. And then that was around 97 to 99, and we'd still run into each other. And I was dating, I don't call him a loser, but I wasn't dating anyone. My relationship status wasn't good either. But and we still, I still kind of had the hots for him. I thought, okay, well, maybe we'll hook up, maybe one of these days. And he was always like, Nikki, and he was doing well for himself. He was working at the mortgage company, doing very well. He wasn't hurting for any of my kind of money. He was trying to offer me a job to get professionally in the professional world. I was telling him I was struggling. I was just trying to find my place in life. I'm working at this, a bartender. I got a college degree, and I'm working, not even as a bartender, as a wait staff and stuff like that. So he was always, pumping me up like he always does, just a great friend, always. You're never down when you're with Ivan. And so, yeah, but I knew from word on the streets was that, his girlfriends the girls that he was dating were spiteful. They were, I don't want to call them crazy, because I kind of was that kind of girl at one point in time with my boyfriend, but very jealous. They'll do anything to keep him, kind of thing. So,
well, and did you ever meet his cousin, James?
No, never met his cousin. Like I said, the only one I knew of is Thad Zach, and I don't even know if they were real cousins, just pretended to be back in the days. And And no, but I
Yeah, I think
might
they just
have.
pretended. I think they just pretended because
Yeah,
Ivan told me about that, but yeah, no, I don't think they're
yeah,
bloodshot.
yeah. You know what? I might have because in Copper Tank, he would never come with his girlfriend. So we were lucky enough to hang out there and, stuff like that. And that's when we would see each other. But we would never see each other beyond that because we both had boyfriend and girlfriends. We were both in toxic relationships.
So you remember seeing him around 99, and then so do you remember how you heard about the murders and what
A friend of,
initially?
yeah, a friend of ours, Annie, I think, had contacted my friend Mia McKinley, and they had called me and told me about it, and I was like, what? No, he didn't. Okay, and then I thought, okay, well, he's going to get off. So I didn't really contact him, thinking, well, this didn't happen. No way. I know Ivan. He didn't do this. There's no way he would have done this. He was doing so good with last time I saw him. He didn't have any money problems whatsoever. And for him to offer me a job and welcome me in his professional world, that just wouldn't have happened, And so I thought, for sure, I'm going to leave it alone because he's going to get off, I just didn't reach out to him, I didn't think anything of it. And at this point, I'm believing in my criminal justice degree. I'm thinking, no, the system will do him right, the system will do him right,
Even after he was arrested, why did you think that he couldn't have done it though?
Oh, he's just not that type of guy. I've never seen Ivan with a gun. I've never seen him threaten anybody. I don't even think I've seen Ivan mad out of all the years I've known him. Even though we still never saw each other, we would still run into each other at parties and stuff like that, and we were all, whether it be drunk or anything like that. I'm telling you, I've never heard stories about him, throughout the years. Nothing, and so it's just, it was unheard of. Out of all people, it was not Ivan Cantu. I just couldn't imagine it. He was always the happy-go-lucky guy. There's just no way. Never heard any of that. And you would at least hear something, Plano talks, like, how do rumors get started? Started by the Plano people. I mean, you know this. This is how it all starts. This is why sometimes, I don't want to say this is why sometimes suicide happens, but, words hurt, Words really do hurt around here. So I just thought, no, it couldn't have been him, no way. I knew it wasn't. I just know wholeheartedly it isn't. I've known for a long time. So it wasn't Ivan, I know Ivan. It's just not him.
And did you ever reach out to him when he was in prison?
So whenever I found out, a friend of mine, we ran into each other, and she told me that he had gotten married, and she's got this website now, because I didn't know where he was. At this point, I just had my baby girl, and so I reached out to his wife, Tammy, and then she notified him, and so that we could write each other, and then so we reached out then, and then I met another friend of his, Brian Rookstool. I don't know if you've talked to him yet either. I met him, and undoubtedly we all grew up together too, but I don't remember Brian. But him and Ivan actually went to school. Like, Brian hung out with his little brother and everything like that. But I didn't remember Brian. But it was just ironic. One night we were talking about it. He's like, I got this best friend on death row. And I'm like, I have a best friend on death row. Ivan Cantu is not your best friend. He's my best friend. And sure enough, and so then that kind of triggered, God, I need to get a hold of Ivan again. Like, I ran into Brian Rookstool. Who is this guy? He says he's your best friend. I don't remember him at the roller rink. I don't remember him after Clark, Carpenter and Clark, and it was just ironic. So yeah, I have a few letters, and then I sent him some money and just, hey, I'm just thinking about you. And then I told him too, I said, I hope you know this letter that I'm writing right here is probably the first letter. I didn't even write letters in boot camp. I didn't even make phone calls in boot camp. This is the first letter I've written in my life since we had to take writing school in elementary school. So you are so lucky you're getting this letter.
So even back then, you thought maybe the cops were corrupted or the cops had gotten it wrong. Huh?
Yeah, just, regarding, I remember reading the case with my sister because she worked for the parole. Like, I was a juvenile probation officer, and I forgot what she was doing at the time. She was working on parole or something like that. And, I'd ask her to look it up and read the case to me when we had our time off or something like that. And it was just, kind of sketchy, I mean, my dad's a police officer. He was a private investigator. We were born in this family, And at this point, before this, I was working for law firms, and so it was just really sketchy. And the way my dad described it, he retired as a police officer, and he would just say, no, it's corrupt, it's political. Just even now, like with the DA right now in Collin County, okay, he's going through his own case right now, a sexual harassment case, okay. So whether he's innocent or guilty, okay, he's given another chance right now, even though he had to pay off his the witnesses, okay, and those girls have gotten fired, okay, but he's given another chance. This is my feeling with Ivan. He should get another trial. If Greg Willis is given another chance right now, to succeed in his, and wash away his, accusation, and because of the witnesses, then Ivan should be too. Should be the same way,
Basically, where his case stands now is it's with the courts looking at his final, like kind of the latest appeal that he's had, which it was enough for them to stop the execution in April. So now it's just up to the courts to kick it back to Collin County to see if he would get a new trial, because it's been proven that people lied on the stand at his trial, and some of the evidence that was presented was fraudulent, and other evidence was certainly shaky. So it's just now, literally, he could be a couple months away from walking out a free man, but he could also be a couple months away from them saying that he's not entitled to a new trial or any kind of review, and they could set another execution date. So
I'm just thankful they didn't. I mean, I'm just so thankful. Ugh. I just can't imagine it, I even told him I wanted to be there because I want to see the first time my criminal justice, I've always been for the Dell Center. I told him this, I've always been so thinking my criminal justice degree, is intact. I graduated. I paid my college myself. I had financial aid, and now I'm not. I'm against the death penalty. I'm totally against it. I'm totally against it because of this. They're going to kill an innocent man if they do. And I want to be there. I want to see it, because I will be fighting from here on out against it from here on out. And because of this, I am, I'm just so distraught. Like, I can't believe this. I just want to wash away my degree. Just disgusting.
So Ivan's case made you change your mind about the
case? Oh, yeah, completely. Oh, yeah. Totally switched me around. Oh, yeah. I have a daughter, too. And, like, even my mom says, if anything happened to her, but no. And I get it. I've had an abortion before, too. So, for me right now, women's rights are kind of important, but now you're being hypocritical now. Now it's just the law, it's kind of like a white man's world. It's kind of like Plano all over again. When all my friends were killing themselves, it's like white man's world, okay? Now you're making it do as I say, but not as I do, I'm going to not let you get an abortion, which is fine because that's still killing another human being. I get it. But now you're saying you can kill my best friend Ivan, who's an innocent? Oh, hell no. Hell no. You better be equal across the world. If we can't have abortions, then you can't have the death penalty. Bring that to an end. Because the worst they can do, the ones that are guilty, sit in there and relive your crime, And I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with that. So, but yeah, no, this case is totally, and this has gone on, since I found out about his case.
Did you ever see Ivan on drugs? Because he admitted he did drugs and partied.
I mean, we all did. Okay,
Right.
It was like the cocaine capital of the world back then.
Right.
So, but I don't remember. We never did drugs together, not that I know of, unless
Okay.
he's telling you he did. But I don't
think no.
unless,
I don't. It just came out.
It
came out at trial that apparently that night he was on a lot of stuff, and I think when most people see that and read the record, they're like, "Whoa, this guy was on drugs and he's out of control." But it really, for people growing up around Plano, it sounded like pretty much everybody was. So
everybody, we had nothing to do but do that, and then we would travel to Dallas, and that's where we got it. Okay. And that's when the heroin epidemic came in. So people would blame heroin for the suicides, but it's not the heroin. It's what we were going through. You know, a lot of the churches were false preachers and false teachers were out there. You know, it was a very weird time in Plano. I mean, but luckily, Ivan and us, we had a camaraderie. You know, we had a group of us that stuck together until we were old enough to, kind of, let's branch out. Let's go get this alcohol and let's go to across the street bar and drink penny pitchers and while we're underage, and then, oh, you got drugs? What's that? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But never any of us, I mean, bar fights, but nothing to this magnitude. No, never. And never did I hear of Ivan getting into anything. Never. I mean, he's just like me. We dated crazy people. But were we crazy at sometimes? Yeah. But like jealousy, as far as our relationships, and stuff like that. That's all, We never stole anything or anything like that, Nothing like to that magnitude. But we were all we all self-sabotaged, all of it. Ivan, like, he was jumping through hoops I hope he told you the same story, but I remember that, he was trying to get me a job at the mortgage company, and like, he was jumping through hoops to help me, And this was just like a few months before I moved to Austin, the man can't kill two people right before this.
It doesn't make any kind of sense. But the crazy thing is, like, if Ivan didn't do it, we still don't know who did and how it all fits together. So that's like, I'm still hoping Ivan will get out, and then we can actually figure out, well, who the hell did this, and how did they set up Ivan? Because that's the crazy part.
Right.
He was set up. He was set up for this.
I know. I know, but a lot of people were jealous of him, though. That's the thing. A lot of people were. He's good looking. He's very good looking. Everyone has been. He has been the fresh piece of meat since he came around. People. He and Thad Zach. I'm telling you, they were the hot boys from the beginning. I was lucky to kiss him. Get a kiss, be his first kiss, I guess. And then for him to make so much money right before all this happened, a lot of people were jealous of him. And hanging out at Copper Tank. And at this point right here, you got to understand that up and down Deep Ellum, and then we would also meet on Greenville Avenue too. Those cops ruled that street. Okay, they knew those drugs that were coming in and out. Okay, so you have to know that. That's how also dirty I know they are. Okay, because I was getting those drugs at that time. Okay, so and they knew, and those cops were dealing them too. They knew, and that's how I also know how dirty they are. Because these bar owners were hiring these cops to work these streets too. So, yeah. So a lot of people were jealous of them. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get to the bottom of it. But yeah.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
I will email you all the information. But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Nikki.
Have a good night.
Okay. You too. All right.
Thank you. Bye-bye.